All right. Do you want to start with your name and what you do and what ranch you run?
Yeah, I am Fallon Molnar. I manage my family's cattle operation in Cayucos, California, and we have leases from Cambria to Morro Bay and all up the coast there. And we just recently bought another ranch in San Ardo, which is north of Paso Robles, like 40 minutes. And yeah, we have about 500 head throughout all those leases and the ranches we own. And
Mhm.
I manage the cow calf pairs, so we have about 280 of those right now. And then I help my dad manage the yearling heifers, which is like kind of the younger ones coming up to breed for the next year.
Yeah.
At that other ranch in San Ardo, because that one's like about as big as all of our leases combined on the coast.
Okay. Let's start with like the vocabulary. So like what, in case people don't know, right? So the
Yeah.
different, words for the different cows and stuff.
Yeah. So a cow is just a female cow, and she's had a calf before. So she's like at least one calf, so however many she'll have. And a heifer is also a female cow, but she has never had a calf before. So she's kind of what we call like a virgin cow.
Okay.
And once she calves, then she becomes a cow. We still call them a heifer until like they have their second calf, just because like it's easier to name them things
Yeah.
like that. And then a bull is a male cow with his testicles intact.
Right.
And a steer is a male cow with his testicles removed, so we castrate them.
Right.
Yeah, and then though that's pretty much it. There's a couple other little terms, like there's like free martins, and those are females that aren't sexually able to breed, and usually
Okay.
that's like if they're a twin to a male, they like I think there was a statistic in college I learned. I think it was like 95% of the time they were unable to breed if they are twin to a male.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, there's some little other terms like that. But
Yeah.
for the most part, those four are what
The
we
basics,
Yeah,
right.
what we use in the industry.
Right. Okay. So let's start off. Like I read a little bit on your website and kind of like where you guys started. It said like in 1870. What's his name? Ericole?
Urkele.
Ercole. So he landed here in Cayucos. At least that's what it said.
Yeah.
And then straight from Switzerland.
Yeah, so we are Swiss Italian, they call it. We're Italians that lived like a couple miles on the like past the border in Switzerland. So we are from the Maggia Valley in Switzerland, but we were Italian. So it's kind of they call
Okay.
it Swiss Italian these
Swiss
days.
Italian.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking back. I was like, well, there was not a whole lot here, especially in Cayucos. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
And that's even before Hearst Castle was there, right? I'm
Oh
assuming.
yeah. Hearst Cat. I don't remember when that
It
was.
was like
That
the early
was-
1900s,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that was early 1900s. And yeah, the first house in Cayucos was the Cass House, and I don't remember what date that was, but I think it was only like 5 to 7 years before my family got there. So and then like one of the next couple of houses was I forgot what they call it really, but the Borchards family lived there, and they just recently sold it. But it's the house kind of just like down the hill from this grammar school, and that was one of the houses that my great-great-grandfather helped build and lived there. And it was one of like the first 5 houses in Cayucos or something.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, he bring the cows first, or he was like, oh, I'm gonna go back and go get them and then bring them.
He actually came here with experience. That was it. And then he acquired. I don't know. I think they just claimed it back then. The land.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
really like
right.
a lease, but like all of Cayucos Creek and all the land behind Cayucos, he had claimed. He had a couple thousand acres behind Cayucos that he had claimed and started with Herefords. And he actually created the first butcher shop in Cayucos, which is still standing. Actually, he built it himself. It's the Cayucos Beach Rentals or something. It's right behind the cast house, actually, so it's still there.
Okay.
But he created the first butcher shop, and he started to butcher his own cows and get other cows from other local ranchers. And then his son was the one that brought the Angus to California from the Colorado Stock Show.
Gotcha.
And he bought some at Colorado, and they came over on a train, and they drove him up from the train station in San Luis, like on horseback.
Oh.
Yeah, so they just like, it was like before they had great, you could
Yeah.
still drive cattle next to the highway.
Right. Yeah,
It wasn't like it is now.
No, definitely not. Yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah.
So what do you know what made them go with the Black Angus?
It's just a more versatile breed. I mean, on an average, a
Yeah.
lot of people still love Herefords, but they just are so feed efficient. They're great mothers. They just make on average more beef per pound or per head than any other breed really.
Okay.
And that's kind of, and the genetics these days have gotten a lot better to where it's just so efficient, and that's kind of how you feed America, is keeping efficient cattle that are going to take less time to make more beef kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he realized that like back in the, I think it was the 20s or 30s.
Oh my gosh.
Of 19, maybe the 40s, but so he figured he'd try something new, and everyone, apparently the story goes is everyone was making fun of him.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask you.
laughing, and they're like, you can't bring black cows here. We all use the red and white ones, and so, and then now like there's barely any Herefords left. Like the whole industry has transitioned to Black Angus.
Oh, okay. And then do they have like a better temperament than other breeds as well, or does it matter?
I mean, but it varies. Like my dad has a saying where there's more variation within a breed than between breeds, and I guess it's more about their environment really. But I mean, on average, like, yeah, Angus are gonna be better than like a Brahman influence, like those long-eared ones that come from. They have them a lot down in Arizona and stuff in Texas. So they're generally a little calmer than that. And some people say, oh, red Angus are more calm than Black Angus, which red Angus is pretty much just like crossing a Hereford with an Angus.
Oh, okay.
And some people say Hereford are calmer than Angus, but it's mostly just up to environment.
Right.
But they are a calmer breed. They are a little less high-headed than some breeds. So
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. And then on your website you said you guys do offer like animals to buy and raise yourself as well. Are you still doing that?
Yeah. Every now and then, people generally now they don't have the space; they just want to buy the meat. But we have had a couple people that will either want a bottle calf, and I actually have like a calf package where like if you want a bottle calf, you get like the first bag of milk replacer and a bottle, and then we like give you little instructions on how to raise it.
Nice.
And a couple people have done that, but it's mostly just people wanting like ready to go steers.
Yeah.
And then they just like want you to drop them off at the butcher, and they take care of the rest. So that's pretty much it for the beef side of it. But then I have other people that are interested in our heifers, because we only keep about 50 to 60 of our own, but we have 220 of them at the other ranch. So we sell a good amount of them. So it's just other local ranchers that need a few here or there to replace older cows. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the live cattle.
And then I know you guys, it said also on your website that Ed donated some of the first, cows to the Mid-State Fair as well, right? And actually to the Cal Poly Animal Science Department too, right?
Yeah, he donated the first little group that they call, I guess they call it a herd. It was the first little group to Cal Poly. Yeah. Those were the first Angus ones. Before, Cal Poly was just doing the Herefords just like everybody else. Yeah. So he donated a couple cows, maybe a bull to Cal Poly. Then they kind of took off with that because they're studying the new and improved cattle. Back then was the new thing, was Angus. Okay. And so they wanted to start doing that, and then now like most of their cows from Cal Poly they're still from those original ones, I believe. Yeah. And then the Mid-State Fair, he actually was one of the people to start the replacement heifer show. So for 4-H and FFA kids. Yeah, right. And his name is actually still on the cement in one of the barns when they were building them. Oh, nice. Yeah, and nice. So he actually helped start that, because he was just super big into the next generation coming up and learning about that kind of stuff. And it's been awesome to have that, because I did it when I was a kid. I did it for years, and kids they get to make money, they get to learn how to raise something, and exactly how the market goes, and so he did a great job with that. Yeah, my nieces and nephews have done pigs and stuff, and it's all, I mean, they like it. And also, now they're at college age, and now they're using a lot of that money to pay for some of their college, or, a car or whatever it is, you know. So I think it's a great program, and the meat's fantastic as well. So can't go wrong with that. No, it's all really good. Okay, so take me through like a typical day for you taking care of these cows. Okay. It varies like through different seasons. So like right now it's September 1st, so we're calving. We're almost done calving our heifers out. And those ones are difficult because you have to keep them close to home. They've never calved before. You don't know if they're going to have any issues. Some of them have, bigger pelvises than others. So some of them get their calves stuck and you have to pull them. And so we keep them right next to the road by our house, so I can just drive by and check on them, a few times a day and through the night. And so we only have, luckily, 13 left of those to calve. We had 43. So
Oh my gosh.
we're almost done calving those out.
You're like almost done.
Yeah, almost done with the hard ones.
Yeah.
And then all the other cows start, and we do that on purpose because I like to focus my attention on the heifers.
Yeah.
And now our other calves or cows are probably going to actually start this week. And then so there's 250 of those that'll start. And those are a little less maintenance because they're anywhere from like 3 to 20 something years old, so they know how to do it by now. But it's, you still got to go check, and there's some that have them early, and there's some that they'll some of them will actually have their calf early if for some reason the calf dies in the womb.
How bad are like the predators out where you're at?
Where we're at specifically, they aren't too bad. It's mostly, I mean, we've been seeing a couple lions recently. They've been moving back in. We haven't seen them in a long time, but they're moving back in now, so that's always scary because
Right.
if they get the nerve, they could go after a small cow. So
Definitely.
the calves are kind of in danger there. But usually the coyotes are just, I really don't like coyotes.
I don't think any rancher likes coyotes, man.
No, they're always around, and they like to come around and they eat all the new calf poop on the ground because it tastes like milk, and so they like to eat it. And then if one calf dies, like they're on it. Like last year there was a cow that I looked at the night before. I went and checked cows at like 6:00 at night, and I come back the next morning because I had to go move them or something like that, and her calf was just pieces the next morning, and she hadn't even calved that night. So I was like, those coyotes must have
smelled it.
Literally got on that calf the second it hit the ground. And I don't know if it was alive. It didn't look like it was alive when it came out. Because generally, if it is alive, the mom will fend them off. Or
Right.
There's a couple iffy situations I've had, but generally it's when they're already dead, and then they go for it, which is understandable.
Right.
But
Definitely.
Yeah, so that the predators aren't too bad. It's just mostly the coyotes just being around and getting to stuff before you do.
Yeah, it seems like the coyotes definitely would be a problem.
Yeah,
I always watch those videos at night, and my wife thinks I'm a freak. Those ranchers going out with. Have you seen those?
Yeah, with
their
like
night
the
vision.
Infrared, yeah.
Oh my gosh,
those are really fun videos.
So cool though. I
Yeah.
mean, and she's like, "What are you watching?" I'm like,
My
I'm
dad
going
does
to bed.
that. Yeah, he'll sit on the couch, and he just recently found out about YouTube Shorts, and so he'll sit there and he'll get on the coyote YouTube Shorts or even the pigs, like the guys in Texas will shoot the pig.
That's so good.
Yeah, and he'll get there and he just sits there with his remote and just watches it for
He
hours.
doesn't even have to touch anything; it just automatically plays.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's really funny.
So how is the drought kind of? I mean, not the last 2 years because we've had quite a bit of rain.
Yeah.
But before that, I mean, there was pretty nasty drought here. I mean, we're probably still in a drought a little bit. But
Yeah.
how does that affect your cows or anything, or your job? I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty much just boils down to the amount of hay that we have to feed.
Yeah.
And because luckily we have my dad's a contractor, so he has everything set up really well as far as like watering the cows. Like he has springs developed and a lot of nice water lines run from like really good wells that are even far away. He has a dozer that actually puts pipe into the ground automatically, so it just like holds the roll, and it has a big claw, and it makes a big claw mark on the ground as it's putting pipe in, so he can run pipe pretty much anywhere he wants to go.
Yeah.
And so luckily we're fortunate enough to have good water to the cows.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say the grass content is pretty much where it comes into play as far as the drought. In the last 2 years, we still have a good amount of grass, whereas some years we feed for almost 6 months at a time, and that's feeding
a lot.
2 tons of hay every single day.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot of money. A hay bale's 100 pounds, and they're $26 a bale, and you feed 30 of those a day, and it's a lot of money. And so, like, last year was awesome. I've actually never seen a year like last year before in my whole life. Yeah,
so much rain.
Yeah, some ranches we literally only had to feed for like 3 weeks just because we felt bad, and we were like, oh, well, they're a little thin. We'll give them a little something, but we probably didn't even have to feed. And it was amazing because usually it's at least 4 months of feeding every day, and it starts September and it goes until March or whenever, and it's just been awesome because they can really, the cows at least, not the heifers. The heifers with to feed because their bodies aren't fully grown and they're a little thinner after they calve.
Yeah.
So we've been feeding them all along, But the cows, they can do well on the grass pretty much until it rains again, if we don't have those heavy fogs or like a light rain. Because when that heavy fog or that light rain comes, it actually turns like the yellow grass into gray, and that's the mold on the grass. And so when the mold on the grass comes, it degrades the grass, and there's no nutritional content anymore. So when that happens, you kind of look out and you're like, oh, the grass is gray, we better start feeding. So that hasn't happened yet, luckily, but we'll see if it.
Yeah, well, I mean, Cayucas, by the coast, that's definitely more of a fog heavy area for sure.
Yeah, the fog was crazy this morning too. It's almost like rain over there sometimes.
Yeah.
And that once that happens enough, it just molds that grass. But luckily, we're not there yet, so we'll see how.
Oh, that's good.
Happens. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a ton of rain this year too. Probably less than last year, but still a decent amount. I felt like.
Yeah, it was nice because it was spread out better than the year before, because that was like so much rain in 2 weeks.
So much rain, it got dumped everywhere. Everything was flooding.
Yeah.
We're like, I'm not sure what we're gonna do.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So they feed on the grass and the hay. Do you finish them on anything?
No. Actually the steers that we finish for the beef they don't even get fed hay. They just because they don't require as much nutritional content as a cow.
Yeah.
So they just get thrown out on grass, and they don't get any hay or vaccines or anything since they were like a brand new calf, and they just stay out there for 2.5 years. Okay. And then get slaughtered. That's just how it goes. It's pretty natural.
So that's your time period. So once they're born, 2.5 years, and then they get to the butcher and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and some of them, I mean, usually we still sell our steers to like big buyers over in the Midwest, and like sometimes, like last year we sold our steers to the guy that backgrounds the cows, which is like feeds them before they go to a feedlot.
Yeah.
For Walmart. So Walmart actually hired these guys to buy the cattle and feed them, and then they put them in their feedlots. So our beef was actually in Walmart last year.
Oh, nice.
And so the Walmart actually has pretty good beef. They kind of do that with other local people, and they buy up good ranchers' cows and feed it in their own feedlots. But they so we sell most of them, but I keep like 40 head a year about, and this year I might even keep more because we're kind of expanding a little bit. But and they're generally like the smaller end, so that's where you kind of need to keep them 2.5 years. But sometimes we'll have ones that'll pop out that have a little more white on their face than they should, and the buyers won't want to buy them because the buyers just want all black Angus, and because that's kind of where the industry wants. And if we have some crossbred cows still that were still had a little bit of breeding from the Herefords that I was talking about, which are the red and white ones,
right? And
so we'll keep those. And I like 2 years ago I had these giant ones that were the biggest steers out of like our whole herd, and they actually finished and were slaughtered by 18 months, which is unheard of for grass fed.
That's fast then. That's half the time, right?
Yeah, that's like almost what you would do in a feedlot.
Right.
But they were just all on grass, and they just had really good genetics, and they were amazing. So it can happen, but generally it's like 2 to 2.5 years.
So for those, are you like, well, are you gonna breed for that then, or are you gonna like, no, like we like the 2.5 year time frame?
We try to. All of our bulls are actually, they're in the top 25% of the Angus breed for marbling and calving ease, which is being able to, I guess, calve easily for the cow. Yeah. And marbling and the ribeye, there's like scores, they call them EPDs. There's scores that all the bulls have when you buy them, that they've kind of, the people that raise the bulls keep these numbers from the bulls' ancestors. So they over time they build up these numbers, and they can predict what the calves will do that come out of those bulls, what their offspring will do. And so all of our bulls we buy are in the top 25% of the marbling and ribeye score, which means that their calves should hopefully marble really well and have a good ribeye. Mm-hmm. And so generally we really are trying to breed for that, and that's kind of what the industry wants as well. They want to see your bulls in the top 25%, and that only does so much because 50% of the genetics is the cow. So cows aren't kept, aren't studied that closely really because it's a commercial operation. We're not purebred, right? But you try where you can, and you hope that the genetics will take over. Right.
So you said you're expanding. Like, how did that? Are you just like there's more demand, and you're just like, well, I'm gonna do another lease somewhere, or how does that work?
Yeah, we're always looking for leases. So because we have cattle that we could put anywhere really. Yeah. We can get more cattle. We have neighbors that have cattle that if they have too much, we can buy from them. but it's pretty much, we have one ranch that holds the steers, and that ranch we just kind of, it's kind of understocked sometimes. So like we'll only have 40. You could probably hold 60, but we only really need 40 for the beef that year because we don't like to keep any extra because it's just kind of an economical thing. But we expanding as far as like the demand locally. So the local people at farmers markets, they're loving it. And we recently last year just got in with most of the schools in the county, so they started buying ground beef from us.
Oh, nice.
And that's been awesome because I can take those steers and I can grind most of the stuff. If I already have like roasts and stuff that I already have saved up from last year's, I can just grind that and give it to the schools in 10-pound packs. And the butcher's happy because they don't have to put in 1-pound packs. The schools are happy because it's local, and so I can just keep the good steaks off those steers and then give the schools that ground beef. And so that's been awesome because they'll take a lot of ground beef at a time. And so
I'm sure they will.
So that's kind of what it's been going towards, is helping out the local schools. And it's been awesome because they have these grants now where they feed the kids like all local food. And I remember when I was in school, I used to eat like muffins out of a plastic bag. It was really bad.
It was like awful lunch. It was terrible.
And so that's been awesome to help with them. And then hopefully the local food bank will be wanting to get protein as well. We just started selling our avocados to them.
Okay.
And so they got a grant too, where they have some money per week that they can spend on feeding local people. And I'm hoping they go into protein because that could be awesome. They could get a ton of ground beef too, and just help out the local community.
So you have a bunch of roasts and stuff that you just ground up, like leftover from butchering.
Yeah, if I have some in stock, like I'll have a couple boxes of chuck roast or a couple boxes of rump roast. I'll just be like, okay, and the next years that come, I'm just like, okay, I'll just grind all that. I already have enough in stock for like my variety boxes and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so you just kind of touched on that. So how has it been, being a local rancher versus, some of the other stuff that's out there, like like Butcher Box or anything like that like meat service shipping thing?
Yeah. I mean, those are generally, most of them are not even from America, the meat at least.
Like New Zealand, right?
Yeah, most of the beef is from New Zealand and Australia.
Yeah.
And if they are from America, it's, there's a lot of them that I've looked into, and they're from places like South Dakota or big grass-fed operations that have like perpetual pasture. And that's difficult because it's hard to get good marbling on perpetual pasture, which is like continuous watering, which is green grass, right?
Yeah.
So when the cattle are eating that green grass, they're leaner because there's not as much seed in the grass, and the seed is what gives them the fat to have the marbling. And so like this time of year, there's no green grass. The seeds are still on the ground. The cows are still eating it.
Yeah.
And they marble pretty well still this year. Like the prime time to get grass-fed, best marbling is probably June here at least.
Okay.
But like in other states, like where all those people get the Butcher Box and all that stuff, where they get that grass-fed meat, they have to have it on such a large quantity, right? So they have to have cattle just keep coming, and so that's where they get poundage on the perpetual pasture, but not necessarily the best marbling.
Yeah.
So sometimes it'll be a little bit lean, or it'll be cut a little differently. Whereas like with us, I try to give my best meat. And if I have something leaner, I'll find customers that like leaner stuff. Whereas like if I'm shipping something, I try to give them the best looking stuff, and it's cut a little more custom. Like in the grocery store, you go and get a ribeye or a fillet, and they're cut like in a perfect little round circle, and they're or they're like all nice and shaped. Whereas like our stuff is like they just cut it right off the carcass, they trim it up a little bit, but it's like a nice full piece of meat. It's not just like a little circle that they carve out just to make it look nice.
Yeah.
And because those Butcher Boxes, they're consistent, so that's nice. And they have, you can get fish and pork and chicken all in one box, so that's kind of the cool thing.
Yeah, right.
But if you're just wanting beef, it's better to support local, because those companies are just so big, and they're not really like a small business anymore. So
exactly. It's
kind of cool to support somebody local and smaller.
Definitely. So let's go through like the kind of the processing. So after 2.5 years, you take the steers and you send them to the butcher, or do you don't do that on your ranch?
It depends. If somebody buys a whole half or quarter steer, well, I have to group together 4 quarters, or 2 halves.
Yeah.
But if somebody buys that, you sell them the animal before you kill it.
Right.
And then it technically doesn't have to be USDA processed.
Oh, okay.
Everything's generally dry aged too. So he'll take it to the butcher. They'll hang it for 2 weeks to 21 days,
Yeah.
and then they'll do all the cutting up, and it's really nice that way because the 21 days it's super tender after that because it's
Yeah, I was
all
gonna
dry
ask about
aged.
that. That's nice. So yeah, I was like, do you dry age? So you don't do it, but the butcher will hang it. You're like, hey, I want 21 days, or do you tell them?
Yeah,
Or
the one butcher, Sinton and Sons, they just recently bought the JNR meats in Paso.
yeah, I'm trying to get them on
And
too. So-
yeah, no, he's awesome.
yeah,
He's awesome if you can get him on.
yeah,
And he's been super helpful. And they have the space right now since they just started. And he's like, I can hang him for 21 days. And so that's who I take my non-USDA animals to
Yeah.
right now. And they actually aren't a USDA butcher at all. So he's all just like guided hunting pigs and deer, and then he does some other local steers and pigs and lambs for people.
yeah,
So I take them to him too. But yeah, other than that, all the retail stuff like for the boxes and farmers markets and all the schools, that has to be done USDA processed. So I just take the animals live to either Sinton and Sons, they started doing USDA now, or Creston Valley Meats in Creston.
Yep.
Who have done most of my beef the last couple of years, and I just take the animal live and then I get it back in boxes, and that's kind of how it has to be to sell retail because of the laws and stuff like that.
right. So what's the process for USDA? At least is that mostly on the butcher end of things, or is that more on you for that?
No, that's pretty much just the butcher. They have
That's
to
a butcher,
do,
okay.
Yeah, they have to do the USDA kill, which is everything's inspected. So they have a
Yeah.
USDA person by the kill floor, which is they'll put them in the little chute. They'll do the little cap gun thing, or I don't remember if they do a regular gun or a cap gun, but they'll have the people inspect that, and they'll inspect the skinning and the processing, and just so everything's clean. And,
Yeah.
the packaging and all
Definitely.
that stuff. So
Okay, so they go out and do that. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I'm trying to get him on, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I think they're just starting to, because he was part of JNR before, right?
no, this is a completely different guy.
Oh,
Yeah, he actually runs I forgot the name of the ranch. It's out there. He's out there. Avenales Ranch. He runs Avenales Ranch out in, I guess it's kind of out in far Creston or Shandon.
yeah.
And he has wine and beef. He actually runs Hereford still.
Oh, okay.
And so he has wine and beef out there. And then we just got, tired of only having one USDA butcher. So
Yeah.
he bought JNR and has done a really good job so far at bringing that up and, killing more animals and slaughtering and cutting for the local community. So
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been awesome.
Yeah, he's got some interesting stuff that he's selling too. I haven't gone in there yet because I feel like it just opened like a couple weeks ago. Or
Oh,
something.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with that. So what was I gonna say? How do you like kind of maintain like the health of the herd? Is there anything you guys have to watch out for, like bugs or diseases or anything like that you're like kind of worried about or not or?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much it's just the cows pretty much take care of themselves. I
Yeah.
mean, we vaccinate the cows once a year, and that's just we're certified natural, so it's goes with the certified natural program. So it's just like some wormers, some like one respiratory deal. We give them a copper bolus, which is basically just copper. So because they're around here, the soil is deficient in copper, so
Oh, okay.
they don't get that mineral as much.
Yeah.
And it's just more of natural things that we give them to keep them from getting pneumonia and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the calves get 2 vaccines before they're like they get one before 3 months and one before 9 months. So they're kind of like spread out a little bit there.
Yeah.
But after that, like the ones that we kill at least for beef don't get anything. So they don't even get yearly stuff. They're
Right.
pretty much, and it's all out of their system by then. And so that's what people don't understand is they're like, oh, do you vaccinate? And we're like, yeah, but all those vaccines are not like pigs, where pigs hold whatever they
Yeah.
they eat in their meat, where cattle have the rumination system, their ruminant gut, so they ruminate and deposit everything after a certain amount of days.
Yeah.
And so that's the cool thing about beef is that it's not still living in the meat. I mean, unless you give them extra added hormones, which nobody really does anymore. We don't do that. It's kind of, it's like it's more gain than, to give them no hormone than get the extra 50 pounds that they grow, right?
Yeah.
For pounds. And yeah, so it's pretty much just our biggest thing that takes out the calves at least was last year was pneumonia. And that's just, we don't know what happened last year. Last year I had the doctor half of the heifer's calves. So we had 40, 20 of them I had to give antibiotics, and I had to pull them out of the program because we're antibiotic free. So you have to sell them separately.
Yeah.
And it was ridiculous. I don't know what it was, if like the rain brought
Yeah.
something out of the soil, or
Right.
but I had to doctor them almost every other day. I was
Oh my
I was
gosh.
getting them, and that's difficult because you have to rope them or get
Yeah.
them in the pen or grab them when they're sleeping, and they don't want you to grab them.
Yeah,
You know,
of
it's
course.
kind of
Like,
kind
I
of a
don't feel
wrestling
good.
match.
I don't really want to be tied.
Yeah, it's kind
Um,
of a wrestling match. But yeah, pneumonia was bad, and then we also have the foxtails in the eyes. We'll get like foxtails and seeds
Oh.
from the grass in their eyes,
Yeah.
and that can actually cause them to have pink eye. And so we'll have to get them, and those are difficult ones because they don't feel bad. They're not sick, so they're not slow, and they're like still super fast. And you have to like sneak up on the eye that's closed and like grab them, and it's kind of it's a whole process.
Yeah.
It's kind of a little wrestling match there with them for a while. But once you get that out, you have to put some penicillin in the eye and put an eye patch on so the sun doesn't beat on it and irritate it, and that's a whole other ordeal. But mainly it's just doctoring for pneumonia and doctoring eyes is what I've done most.
So the vet or the doc didn't know what was causing all that, such a high number?
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, it could be the weather because our first calf heifers, once they're calved out at our house, they go to our lease in Morro Bay, which is like right on 41 there. It's like the first ranch right behind the house is on 41. And it might have just been the weather. It's foggy, then sunny, foggy, then sunny. So
Yeah.
I don't know. They've said that could be it. But I mean, it does. They can kind of transfer to other calves, but it was kind of weird because there'd be like a 2-week gap where they nothing would be sick, and like 5 more would be sick. So it would be like, you don't know if they gave it to each other after the 2 weeks.
Right.
It was confusing, but yeah, luckily this year, fingers crossed, we haven't had much of that, so that's been good.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. It was a lot of rain last year for sure. So
Yeah.
I mean, that probably had something to do with it.
yeah.
So yeah, you kind of touched on it too. So what would you say is like the biggest like misconception that people have about like cattle ranching?
There's a couple. I mean,
Like the antibiotics thing you said.
yeah, that's one of them. Yeah, it's definitely like the vaccines, and there's some ranchers that I've seen on Instagram that are, they're smaller ranchers. They only have like 10 or 15 head, and they're like, oh, we're fully organic and we don't vaccinate and blah blah blah. But like, to me, after seeing what I saw last year, it's like you got to have some vaccines, and
Oh right. Yeah.
they don't stay in their system. And so that's, like I said, that's the good thing about beef is you're not eating the vaccine, and they are certified to the certified natural program, so they're nothing too crazy like the big live vaccines or anything like that.
Yeah.
They're a natural vaccine, and that's what people don't understand is like you don't want your animals to just die, and that's the thing with organic ranching, and is that you either doctor it and pull it out of your program, or you just let nature take its course, and that's kind of something that I don't really want to do is
Yeah.
sit there and watch that
Yeah,
happen.
Right.
So it's not, like I said, it's not in the meat, doesn't transfer over, and it just helps keep the cattle alive and healthy, and that's why we use it. But that's definitely one of them. And another one I'd say is the environmental part of it is people. Well, the media's actually been, well, at least my media, wherever my algorithm is on Instagram.
Yeah. Right.
has been
You're
better.
looking for that. That's feeding
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, my algorithm's been better, but
Yeah.
the media, it kind of portrays cattle ranching as bad and for the environment, and the carbon, blah blah blah. When cattle are literally the best thing for the carbon, like they take the grass, they put air back into the soil, they help the grass grow, they get rid of the bad grasses that are taking over the good grasses because they eat them down, and they eat the old grass, they create more space for the new grass to grow so the water can get into the soil easier.
Yeah.
And they put carbon back into the soil by eating all of that and pooping on the ground and then using it as fertilizer. And cattle are just so good for the environment, and people are like, oh, the cattle farting. It's like, what are you talking about? The cattle, you drive a car every day, what are you talking about?
Exactly. Right.
So and even like feedlots, everyone says, oh, feedlots are horrible, they cram in those pens, blah blah blah. But feedlots, I mean, you have to feed the world somehow, and those are the most efficient way, and the cattle aren't even treated that bad. Like the cattle, yeah, they're not on big rolling green hills, they're in pens, but they have their friends, they're fed really well, they're checked for sickness every day, their pens are clean, they have sprinklers in the summer so they don't get too hot, they have shade. And the cool thing about the feedlot is that a nutritionist literally comes every so often and creates a feed ration to where everything they need is in that food. So like
Oh yeah.
they have everything they need. They're not malnourished at all, nothing like that. But generally they pay guys, every day to go out there and do health checks and make sure everything's okay. And the cattle don't really know much different because they have their buddies around them, they have food, they have water, they're happy,
Right.
So
Why don't you explain, a little more in depth about like how it doesn't, stay in their system, and maybe go through like their digestive pattern. I think there's like a couple stomachs, right, and all that stuff, right?
There's one stomach, 4 compartments, and I can't remember all the names right now.
No, that's fine. I just
works, but what they eat doesn't go back into their meat because they have a rumination system where it goes into their stomach, it ruminates. Sometimes they'll spit back up the grass, and then they'll re-chew it, and then they'll swallow it again. So that's what they call chewing your cud, when they'll spit it up and you'll just see them chewing in a field without eating anything.
Yeah.
That's what that is. And they'll swallow it again, and then their system passes certain things through and uses certain things. So that's kind of how that works, is they'll pass the stuff they don't need through. There's a couple different chambers that take different things out of the food.
Yeah.
And then they'll keep eating and repeat the process over. Whereas like pigs have more of a system like us where it goes, I believe it goes like directly into their bloodstream or something like that, where the cattle have the rumination system to pull things out and deposit it. That's how I remember learning it, but I said it was 5 years ago.
No, yeah, that's fine. But that's where the vaccine goes. It goes out after they use it.
Yeah. So it goes in there, the antibodies and all that stuff happen, and then it's out of their system. It doesn't like stay in there like what pork would, where when it's deposited, it like goes through their whole system and then is deposited.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what I believe. It, like I said, it was years ago. So
yeah, well, I mean, you would
I'm
know
hoping
more than
that's
I
the
would.
correct thing.
That's fine. Anything else that you want to mention, or like how people can find you and all that good stuff?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a website. I have social media. We're just molnarcattle.com, or we go by Beef by the Beach. That's kind of easy to remember.
Yeah.
Because we're like right on the ocean. We have one lease that literally has a beach on it, so it's like it's awesome. It's like my poster child for my website. So just Instagram, website, and I go to a couple farmers markets. You can go there, or I can ship, that kind of thing. But yeah, like bulk beef, if you're interested in bulk beef, just call, and like the number on the website is my cell phone, so you can just call or text that. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. We just kind of raise them till they're a certain age, and then sell the beef to local people. And that's kind of how it got started too. It was just people asking me, hey, why can't I buy beef from that cow that I'm seeing on the side of Highway 1? I'm like, you know what? You're right. Maybe we should change that, because there's no one around there in Cayucas that does that, really.
No, I wouldn't think so. I was going to ask you, how did the land leases work?
Yeah, my dad's had all these leases for like 30 years, and so those are just paid a yearly lease per head is how it goes, but it doesn't go like specifically, oh, we have 112 this year, we have 115, you pay however many dollars more. It's just kind of like an average number of head that you would have on the ranch.
Yeah.
So that's paid yearly, and yeah, that's pretty much how that works. And my dad's really good with it. He's really good with leases because he has all the equipment. He has like 20 something tractors, and so anything they need, we can develop springs and do fencing. My brother's a welder too, so he can do fence, and he cuts roads. So every year we'll go around in the spring and redo the roads because they get washed out. And we actually do most of our ranching on 4-wheelers, so we kind of need those roads.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, he'll help them. And then like one of our leases in Cayucas, he's helped them build house pads and wells, and he has connections for that. So
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's been awesome because he does a really good job helping in the landowner. Like it's, the lease isn't a ton of money, so it's like, because you can only ask so much money to a rancher to put cows on there.
Yeah.
But I guess they get most of the value with the added stuff that he'll help them with, and so they've been really good to us, and we try to be good to them, and that's kind of how that works. But yeah, so we kind of trade work and money for cows on the ranch, I guess.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
It's almost like you got to kind of know how to do all those things too, right? Like,
yeah,
it comes in handy. Like you said, you're going to need, some roads to have your 4-wheelers on, and run those cows, I guess, right?
Yeah, and it's we're pretty gnarly on those 4-wheelers. We'll
Gosh.
go in places that you probably shouldn't go, but it's nice to have a road every now and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he's kind of been doing. He's been in that other ranch we just bought in San Ardo. It was like horrible when we got it. It was just trash. There was trash everywhere, fence just completely obliterated, houses falling down, and so he, with his equipment and a couple of his employees, he like renovated the whole ranch, put like 13 new water troughs with the NRCS, which is their company that, I think they're nonprofit. I don't remember. They help you set up water systems for wildlife and like fencing and stuff like that. And so he works really closely with them. And so we put in more water troughs for the wildlife and took down the old houses, and they're building their new dream home up there finally. We've lived in a double wide for 30 something years, so they finally get their dream home out there.
Nice.
But yeah, so it's just kind of renovating things and fixing fence and, like I said, roads and water troughs, and yeah.
So do you move the cows to different pastures as well on those 4-wheelers?
Yes, yeah. Actually, I forgot to talk about that. We
Yeah.
do the rotational grazing on one of our ranches, which is the one in Cayucas. I think it's 1,200 acres, and that's large enough to do rotational grazing. Because, like, unless you have perpetual pasture, rotational grazing, you kind of have to have that much land because you can only fit that many, a certain amount of cows on one spot at a time.
Right.
And so that ranch has been awesome because we have 7 different fields. It's all with hot wire, which is literally just one, like, energized wire. And
right.
the cows will listen to it. It's pretty
I'm sure
awesome.
they will, yeah.
Yeah, it's 9,000 volt, 9 kilovolts. So I think that's 9,000 volts at a time. It hurts. It really hurts when you touch it.
You're like,
I'll tell you.
I know.
Yeah, I know that one.
Oh man.
And so yeah, we have 7 fields set up for them, and we have 115 cows out there, and different times of the year you rotate them differently. So like this time of the year, the grass is dead. You want to get all the dead fall off of the land for the new grass to come up in a couple months. So we'll leave the cows on one pasture for up to 2 weeks. Whereas in like February, when the grass is growing super well and actively, you just want to leave them in there for like 2 days at a time because they just lop the heads off the grass and get the grass to come out and grow more blades than up. Because if you look at it, like there's some ranches that they don't let, or some land that they don't let cows on. So if you look at it, it's all just like tall weeds, tall grass. It's not very thick. It's like thin stemmed tall grass. And the cows help the land by grazing that tall stuff off. And then once the plant kind of goes, oh no, and it goes out rather than up. And so it just is so much thicker after the cows graze it. And that's what we're trying to do when we graze them for those 2 days, is just get the tall stuff off and then move on, let the grass grow out. And then in the springtime, you put them on for like 4 or 5 days because they just want to eat the seeds off of the top of the grass while there's still enough moisture in the ground for them to grow more seed. So that's kind of when the cows get really fat, is when they're eating just that seed off, and then we move them in like 4 days and they eat more seed. Because then the grass has still enough energy and water to grow more seed again. So yeah,
and you said that's what adds to like the best marbling too, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And that ranch is awesome because it's one of those ranches where there's like 4 ridges and 4 valleys. So like you would never be able to get your cows bred. Like bulls are lazy. They don't want to hike around.
No.
So you would never be able to get them bred by just turning them all loose in one ranch like that, because there'd be a group of 40 over here and then 3 over here with one bull, but the bull needs to go to the group of 40, Yeah, so
right.
That's how we keep them all together, is they're like 200-acre pastures or 150-acre pastures. And we just leave them in there for, the certain amount of days.
Nice. Anything that people can be aware of, or I don't know, what else do you want to add?
Well, pretty much. I mean, I'd like to say that a lot of people are very. It's been nice because people are more conscious with what they're eating, and it's nice that they want to do grass fed and all that kind of stuff, or they want organic or whatnot. Which, like, pretty much grass fed is basically the same thing as organic, because at least where we are, or the way we do it, is our steers don't even eat the hay, so the grass they're eating is organic. So like, grass fed beef, like what I'm saying is you probably shouldn't go spend a bunch more money on getting organic beef than buying just regular grass fed, because it's basically the same thing. I
see. Okay.
Yeah. And so, and what the industry is kind of trying to get out there now is that even if it is grain fed, I did my senior project on it in college. It's not that much different. Like it's just the fat content pretty much. And the fat's a little whiter, so it has a little bit less minerals in it. But pretty much the only big difference in grain fed and grass fed is the amount of omega-3s. But there's not enough omega-3s to be concerned about in beef because like you could eat a square inch of salmon and have way more omega-3s than you get in beef.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the only nutritional difference where other than the visible amount of fat. So like the industry's like just trying to tell people that any beef is good beef. Like any beef is healthy beef, and it all has the minerals, it all has all that good stuff. The amount of protein it has is just so good for you, and that's why people are starting to do like the carnivore animal-based diet, and like their life is transforming. Like I've had customers that had like Hashimoto's and other like autoimmune diseases, and they started doing carnivore or animal-based, and like they've disappeared. And,
really?
Yeah, it's just like they're off their medication. They don't even need to take any of that stuff anymore. And like a lot of people are using beef liver as
I have seen that.
Yeah, as a multivitamin because it's just so much. There's so much more in liver, and it's deposited in your body better because it is a natural food, and almost all of it's absorbed. Rather than if you were to take like a multivitamin, only like 20% of it would be absorbed by your body.
Yeah, you let it go out in your pee. A lot of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's what I'd say. It's just all beef is good beef, and it's great for people. And I know people are like, oh, don't eat red meat, your cholesterol, blah, blah. But scientifically, the new studies that are coming out now is like that fat is not the fat that's making you diabetic. It's like the seed oil and like all
correct, right,
all that processed stuff. So
what was I gonna say? So what is your favorite? Like, if you had to eat beef, what is your favorite steak?
Oh, I would say the tomahawk is my favorite.
Yeah,
and
that's the one.
Yeah, that's just like the big bone and ribeye. It's like that long. It's just you have a rib and a big thick 2-inch ribeye. That was the best steak I ever had. It was actually 2 summers ago. I worked on a ranch in Montana, and my friend we were doing embryo transfers. It was a purebred ranch that I was working on. We were doing embryo transfers, which is like you take the embryo from the good cow and you put it in donor cows, which are cows that don't have great genetics, but they're good mothers. So you put those eggs into them that are fertilized. And it was like a whole day process. We were starving. And the guy that the guy that did it for him, they pay a lot of money to have him come do it. And
I'm sure.
He bought like a whole rib section from Costco. And it was grain fed, but it was Costco actually has really good grain-fed meat. If you're going to get grain-fed, Costco's the way to go. And he bought a whole thing, and the girl that I was working with worked in the butcher shop at Cal Poly, so she like knew how to cut everything up, and she cut all these tomahawks up really nice, and they smoked them on the Traeger, and they took the butter and the tin foil and let them rest and like all this stuff, and it was the best steak I ever had in my life.
Man.
It was just so good. I literally ate the whole steak, ate all the meat off the bone, and then ate somebody else's bone too. We were all starving.
So hungry.
But yeah, those are my favorite. I love ribeyes, especially the cap of the ribeye. That's my favorite because it's like as tender as a fillet, but it has more flavor. So.
Yeah, I do like the ribeyes too. Definitely. And I like the New York too. Like the New York's pretty good.
Yeah, they're pretty good. And like fillets, you can't go wrong. They just don't have a ton of flavor, but they're super tender. So it's like, if you want some tender meat. Fillet.
I might have heard that you are thinking about maybe doing pigs.
Oh yeah, I actually did. I started doing that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I do. I only do like 2 or 3 a month, but yeah, I started selling to Avocado Shack in Moore Bay, and then I just do my own little personal farmers market stuff. It's not even on the website yet. I haven't done that yet, but because a pig is pigs are my personal thing, not my family business.
Oh, I see.
My dad doesn't really like pigs, so I have to do it myself.
Why not? I mean.
Yeah, so I have to do it myself. But yeah, I started doing pigs, and I feed them the non-GMO feed, and they have like a 1/4 acre to roam around on, so I guess that technically is like pasture raised. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's kind of it. They're Berkshire crosses, so they have a really good marbling, and yeah, they've been really good so far. So I'm gonna continue that. I don't want to become a pig farmer. I have enough on my plate already.
Right, I'm sure.
There's hours of work to do. So, I don't want to be a pig farmer. But the good thing about pigs is that you literally just put it in a free feeder and then walk away and then
they kind of
check the water, and they just do their own thing. So yeah, I started getting scraps too. That's kind of fun. Or avocados, if they have like bird pecks in them or like rat bites out of them, I save those and I give them to the pigs, and the pigs love them. It's really good for
avocado
them too.
raised pigs.
Yeah,
Like, seriously.
yeah, it's good stuff because it's all fat and
Yeah, exactly.
whatever else is in an avocado, and so yeah, we started doing that too.
So, but that's a pretty recent thing then.
Yeah, definitely. I just started selling to Avocado Shack a week ago, and I started selling at Farmers Market a month ago. But I only had one pig at that point.
Yeah.
But now I'm getting 2 more in a week. Yeah, so I'm gonna try and keep them going. But I just don't have a lot of space. I'm gonna have to talk my dad into maybe making a pasture at the other end of the ranch where he can't look at them.
Can't look at 'em.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah.
So where did you get the pigs at?
I actually got them, my first ones, the first 2 rounds. I get like 4 at a time, and I'll feed them out, and I'll just keep them coming, those like groups of 4. And the first 2 rounds were actually from a guy here in Atascadero that was just like a dad that was raising pigs for his daughter. They're like
For
maybe
4-H or something?
Yeah, she does 4-H, and then I think he has like a little small farm and a couple sheep and stuff like that. And he had these really good Berkshires, and I was like, oh sweet. And it was a pretty decent deal. And he had 4 at a time, and I'd just take 4 at a time, and they were really good, and they're really sweet pigs. They're not mean or anything. They come up to you and they want to be around people, and they're awesome. And then there's another guy here in Atascadero that lives up Rocky Canyon Road, and he is like not really a pig. I guess he kind of is a pig dealer. I guess.
He is to you.
Yeah, I guess so. My pig dealer. Yeah, he has like, I don't know, a bunch of sows and boars, and he breeds them for the 4-H kids. But he'll have ones that like won't be as good of quality for like a 4-H kid, and I'm like, sweet, I'll take it. It's still gonna taste good. You know, maybe it just doesn't look like show quality, but I don't care. And so pork is pork at that point if they're a good breed. So yeah, I've been getting. He has the Berkshire crosses, and the other guy had just straight Berkshires, but they've been really good. They've been marbling well. Everybody seems to love it. I get the thick cut bacon. People love that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been good. Hopefully, I kind of don't want to take off. I mean, I kind of do because it's a business, But like
exactly.
at the same time, like I don't.
You don't need any more work.
I don't need any more work right now. But I mean, hey, if people are liking it, then I gotta do it. That's how I got into it. My customers were like, we can't find any non-GMO pork, and I'm like, well, I got half an acre or so. I guess I can put some pigs on it.
Right. So what's what is the deal with that? I think that was the question I was kind of getting at. It's like, why is it just like really hard to like get certified for pork here?
They just passed that Prop 12, which is.
And what is that?
That is so that the big, anyone that's producing pork in California now they used to put the moms in farrowing crates, what they would call them. They'd be this little crate where they could stand up and lay down, couldn't turn around. They had food and water, all the food and water they wanted, but the bottom was open so the piglets could come and nurse, but they could run out so the mom wouldn't lay on them. Yeah. Because that was the big issue, I don't know, however many years ago, 50 or so years ago, was that the moms would lay on all the piglets and they'd only have half the piglets the mom would have. Yeah. Because the mom would just kill them all.
Right.
And so they created the farrowing crate, which is only I think they were only in there for like 2 weeks, but which the moms, they have the food and water, they just can't turn around, so they can still like stand and stuff and kind of step a little bit, but it gives the piglets a way to run out. And so all the people in California are like, oh, it's so inhumane, the moms are being tortured, blah blah blah. And now they pass a law where the mom has to have at least 4 square feet of, 6 square feet. I can't remember. I think it's a 6x6 pen. Okay. Maybe 4x4. I can't remember. 4x4 or 6x4 pen that she has to be in. They can't be in any more farrowing crates. So then that raises another issue where now they're laying on half the piglets again. So you have half the pork that you had before. And all the big producers like Foster Farms and stuff, they can't just crank out pork like they used to I mean, their pork is just average pork. It's not like non-GMO stuff like that, but people need pork to feed the world, right? We need to have some kind of efficiency. And they can't do that anymore because they don't have the farrowing crates. They had to switch all their barns. They had to completely take out all the farrowing crates because they have millions of farrowing crates, and they just throw the pigs in the, so they had like a whole system going over the last 40 or something years. Right. And they have to completely redo their barns, completely redo the structure of their business. And now you don't have any pork. You have a hiccup in the system where you have this period where there's no pork being produced. And so that's kind of where the shortage comes from, is having less pork and having the time period it takes to edit, I guess, your business basically.
But
So,
but wasn't there a couple years ago there was like some kind of sickness for the hogs? I don't think that was here, but that was
oh yeah, there was. Yeah, I
yeah,
think I
in the
remember that.
Midwest somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
It
Yeah, I
was
think
like
I
one of
remember that.
the major hog farmers, or a lot of the ranches, like they like a lot of them had to just be slaughtered,
Yeah,
right? And same with
yeah.
the chicken too, like right?
Yeah, I think I heard something about that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that definitely had something to do with it as well, and it
Right.
could still be having effects on it.
Yeah.
But at least in California specifically, the
Okay.
Prop 12 thing is what's been
Okay.
taking
So,
it down.
but if like something like you, like it's a little, is it harder or easier to get into the game now?
Honestly, it makes it a little harder to find pigs, just a hair, because like luckily these guys here in Atascadero, he has a good amount of pigs, and he's Prop 12 certified, so he already has a certification.
Yeah.
But to sell, it's probably a lot better because there is a pork shortage, and even like butcher shops, like the butcher shop in Morro Bay, he buys a couple pigs at a time from me, and he butchers them himself. Like they have to be killed USDA, but he picks up the carcasses, butchers them himself, and he's like, I just need pork to sell.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be fancy non-GMO, which it still is, but he just needs pork because he can't find anybody else that has it locally.
Yeah, right.
Because of the Prop 12 thing, and so it's been good trying to get into the pork business because there's no pork. Everybody now, and especially in the last 2 years, has like gone this health craze of non-GMO, certified natural, all that stuff.
Right.
And so now that like non-GMO pork comes up, and you can't really find that anywhere because there's that shortage, and so it kind of makes it easier for me to come in right now because of the shortage. So I think that's why it's kind of taken off a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, no, I was trying to find somebody like you, but like that does pigs, and I'm like, I can't find nobody like just to talk to,
Yeah.
I think there's somebody out in Creston maybe, but they were pretty busy. But,
in Paso, B Winch Farms.
Yeah.
He does pasture raised like grass-fed pork, non-GMO pork.
Yeah.
He does a good job with his, and like I'm not. He's a lot bigger than I am.
Right. Right.
Like I said, I just do 2 to 3 a month. But
yeah.
So he does chickens too. He does the non-GMO chickens as well.
But that's the Prop 12 is kind of like everyone's trying to switch their business over to that now.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why there's an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So,
okay.
Yeah, but that's the pork. Hopefully it'll take off a little bit, but I'm gonna have to get some more
I don't know.
infrastructure. I don't know. We'll have to see. I'll have to wait till my dad moves. Maybe I can sneak a pen in the corner or something. Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah.
All right. Cool. So let's wrap this up. Let me just plug your place again, and where people can find you, and where people can find your meat and all that good stuff.
Yeah. MolnarCattle.com or beefbythebeach.com. You can look us up on Instagram, Beef by the Beach or Molnar Cattle. And then I do a Thursday farmers market in Morro Bay and Spencer's from 2 to 4:30. And other than that, I just do ranch pickups. I got an awesome walk-in freezer now, so that people can just come to the ranch. And I usually do ranch pickups on Tuesday afternoons. So, but I have people like call or text or something before because I'm not just sitting there at the freezer. But
right.
People can come and just walk in the freezer, bring a jacket, and shop and get a box and just put stuff in it. So, yeah.
But you also, do you say you ship it too, like a meat box too, or people come and pick it up? Yeah,
I can ship too. I have the little liners and the dry ice and all that stuff. I can ship it. I just shipped some to Massachusetts last week. So
oh wow.
Yeah, it was still under 40 degrees though, so it was good. It was still legal. So
nice.
I don't know. I don't think it's illegal, but they generally say when it gets there, it could be thawed, but still under 40 degrees, like a refrigerator.
Yeah, for food safety, all that good stuff.
Yeah, generally, if it's like within anywhere from like Texas west, it's like still frozen or half frozen by the time it gets there. So, like anywhere in California, it's awesome. It's like literally 12 to 18 hour shipping. I could just take it on like a Monday afternoon because our truck leaves at 5:30, a UPS truck. And I get it there by 5:30, and it's there like the next afternoon.
Nice.
At the latest, like it might even get there the next morning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anywhere in California has been pretty awesome.
Pretty quick.
But yeah, I don't get a ton of out-of-staters just because they have other local beef people there now. So yeah, but yeah, I can do that too. And then bulk stuff, people can come and get bulk, and that's definitely cheaper because you're paying a flat rate for all the cuts. So yeah, that's cheaper to fill up your freezer. But yeah,
that's definitely what I would do for sure.
Yeah. It's nice, and you can just pull out whatever you want. You want a stew that night? Good. Burgers? Good.
Yeah.
you know. So
Yep.
you just gotta try not to eat the steaks right at the
I
beginning.
know that would be me,
space
man.
them out.
That would be me. It's all the steaks first.
Yeah, you gotta space them out a bit, but yeah.